Hello, this is Craig, the Natural Medic, and I'm coming to you tonight from Pecos, New Mexico, just a little bit to the east of Santa Fe, up in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, or right at the edge of the Pecos itself. Is not in the mountains, so to speak, but it is right there. I'm sitting here with my mom. Say hi, Mom.
Hey there.
She's visiting me from Texas. I'm just going to be becoming a New Mexico resident soon. Taking a new job. I was doing a contract job as a medic, paramedic that is, here in New Mexico on a power line job. Was a contract medic with that particular project, but I decided to leave that, and I'm going to be in the ER up in Farmington, New Mexico, which is up in the northwest corner of the state, about an hour south of Durango, Colorado. And there's a number of reasons I decided to change that and do that, but primarily I'm not going to delve on that topic in this particular episode. What I wanted to talk about, we're sitting here looking at a fire that's in this it's pretty much like a chimenea. That's a wire mesh one. And we've been here all week, just enjoying New Mexico. The weather's been perfect. We've seen a lot of different things, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing we saw this week?
I think even today, we went to the Santa Fe Ski Basin and saw the waterfalls.
Okay. Yeah, she said her favorite thing was the Santa Fe Ski Basin. We went up there today. Of course, it's not open right now for skiing, but there's a lot of trails up there. I did one of the trails when we were here about 2 years ago, called Lake Catherine, which is up there. Beautiful trail through the Pecos wilderness in the Santa Fe National Forest. Lots of water, lots of big trees, and I don't know how much you don't think about New Mexico, right? You don't think about the mountains as much. You probably think about New Mexico having a desert type environment, a drier type environment, which is true. Probably, I wouldn't be able to tell you exact numbers, but I would say larger than 50% of the state is a semi-arid to arid climate. The north central part of the state around Santa Fe, northeast of Albuquerque and the Sandias, and then up around Taos and places like that, it's a lot wetter. And the terrain is different. It's a lot more rugged and mountainous, like you would think of as the Rocky Mountains. Of course, it is the Rocky Mountains. But I wanted to talk about fire. I know Beavis would say fire. But I think the humans species, or we as humans, have had a long time fascination with fire. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but I would venture to guess that a lot of the reasoning is it's just so fascinating. We look at it, the flames kind of draw us in, cause us to mesmerize. So I think, to some extent, being a human and looking into the flames is like we're looking into our own soul or something. We see that burning piece of wood in the fire pit, or in the chimenea in this case, and we kind of wonder what exactly is making that, even though we know what is making that, because if you're familiar with fire and what makes fire burn, there's what's called the fire triangle. And the fire triangle is basically three different things that fire needs to be successful. And that is, number one. What's number one, Mom?
Fuel.
Fire needs fuel. That is correct. So in this case, fire is using wood. So wood is able to burn. What's another thing that fire needs? Oxygen. Fire needs oxygen. In order to combust, materials must use oxygen from the atmosphere in order to burn. And what's the other thing that's needed?
Spark.
You need a spark, of course, to start the fire. But what's the other thing that keeps the fire burning?
Fuel.
We already said fuel.
Okay.
We already said oxygen.
Yeah.
So there's only one left. What are we feeling right now?
Warmth.
How about
heat? Okay.
Yep. Need heat. In order for fire to combust, to burn, there must be enough heat to continue that combustion to happen. Might be familiar with the book. I remember reading this when I was in grade school. You know, Fahrenheit 454? Is that right? I don't know. But it's a Ray Bradbury book, and it was talking about the temperature that books burn in the future. Firefighters were suppressing information. They were part of the companies that worked for the government and would burn books because it would take away knowledge. And with that in mind, it's a very interesting story. I think they even made a movie. I think Michael B. Jordan is an actor in that movie. I guess the B differentiates him from Michael Jordan, the basketball player. But nonetheless, I didn't see the movie, but I have read the book at least once. Probably I've read it a couple of times. Very interesting. But going back to my original thought, fire is very interesting because it still mystifies us. Because there's just something deeply spiritual about it, I think. I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are out there, you people that are listening, but I think there's just something magical or mysterious about it, even though we know chemically and all that what fire requires to burn. It still just mystifies us, I think, as human beings. There's something about being by a campfire that's just, I don't know. Like you can't take your eyes off of it. It's like a train wreck. You don't want to look, but at the same time, you can't help it. And with that in mind, the way I got this fire started is I used a fire starter. So number one, if you're going out on an adventure in the outdoors, one of the 10 essentials is fire. You want to be able to start a fire. Not to be malicious, of course. New Mexico being a very dry state and having a very hard time with forest fires, you have to think about how you're doing fire. Fire is not always appropriate in the back country, even in the front country, because it's just sometimes too dry. But it's an important survival skill, part of your 10 essentials as a outdoors person, to be able to start fires. So it's good to have at least a couple of different ways to start a fire, and to carry a fire starter if you're out there when it's raining or it's inclement weather. Other than rain, like snow or ice or whatever, you want to be able to start a fire, and having a fire starter in your pack could be very helpful. A lot of those are very useful. I used one tonight just because it made it easier. It's just a regular little fire log from, I think I got this at Walmart. It's a Duraflame Fire Start. You want to pull that meat off the grill? It's a Duraflame Fire Start, but I did pick up some at REI today. I was at REI here in Santa Fe, and had these little cake things. They look like little cupcakes that are made out of wood chips and some other stuff that are real compact and easy to stick into your pack for fire starting. I always want to carry some because there are some times I've been starting fires a long time, since I was in the Boy Scouts. Did you really put that on there where the raw meat was?
That's what's making it see.
Huh?
This is black on this side, and you turn it, do it on the other side.
Yeah. But that was a raw plate.
Okay.
You probably need to get a fresh plate.
Rinse it off.
Okay, or rinse it off or whatever. So you want to be able to start a fire, because what does fire do? Fire, going back in ancient human history, was a mystery how to start it. We didn't know how to start a fire. Billy Joel said we didn't start the fire. That was true back in the day, because what we did was we would wait till we had a lightning strike or some kind of natural cause of the fire, and then we would protect that at all costs. If you ever seen the movie The Quest for Fire, that's a very interesting. It's a very interesting movie because it shows these primitive men trying to collect fire. And luckily we have all kinds of ways to start fire now. But you definitely want to have that ability in your outdoor bag that you take with you on your adventures, whether you're camping, or kayaking, or backpacking, whatever, just even day hiking. It's good to have that fire, because fire can boil water. That's one aspect that fire does for you. If you don't have a purifying setup, a filter, or tablets or whatever, you can use fire to purify the water. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
What's another use for fire? What else can it do?
You can cook food.
Yep. That's exactly right. You can cook food. You can cook food. You may, have run out of fuel and your stove doesn't work. If you can start a fire, you can cook food to sustain yourself. The body needs energy. Energy comes from food that we consume. And if you need to cook some to eat it, consume it, then fire can help you do that. Fire can also warm you. If you're in a situation where maybe you were in a capsized boat, maybe you were caught in a rainstorm, and you're miles and miles from your destination, whether it's be the next shelter or...
Could help you dry your clothes.
Yeah, it can help you dry your clothes and warm your body. Absolutely. And I think fire just provides, like I was going back to the original point, provides that kind of a psychological, I don't want to say missing link, but a missing something or other in our brains. I think we feel if we can make fire and sustain that fire, then that is a great source of comfort for us. Anyway, I was just thinking about these thoughts as we were sitting out here. This is our last night. We're going to be together here in New Mexico. Mom's going to go back to Texas tomorrow. I'm going to go on to Farmington. And but times like this is when you can have a deep thought and think about stuff like that. And that's when I have opportunities to share that with you myself. And I hope it gave you some insight and some knowledge. And anyway, hope you're having a good evening or day or whatever time you're listening to this. And I hope you listen again.